The park had always been the single dad's quiet sanctuary, a place where he could sit on the weathered wooden bench, sipping lukewarm coffee while watching his young son, Liam, chase birds with the determination only a 6-year-old could possess. But on this particular chilly afternoon, the rhythm of life shifted when a girl, frail, small, no older than 12, approached the bench with hesitant steps, her single crutch tapping softly against the pavement as she balanced on her remaining leg, her eyes shy yet hopeful, and as she stopped in front of him and whispered, "Can I sit here?" The single dad, Ethan, looked up from the book he wasn't reading and saw more than just a child. He saw exhaustion, courage, loneliness, and something deeper, a story hiding behind the brave, half-smile she used to mask her fear of rejection. And while people nearby glanced awkwardly, pretending not to stare at the girl's missing leg, Ethan simply scooted aside and said, "Of course you can. This bench is for everyone." But his gentle response hit the girl harder than he expected, because tears instantly formed at the corners of her eyes, trembling, not from sorrow but from the unfamiliar warmth of being accepted without hesitation. And as she settled down beside him, adjusting her crutch carefully, she whispered a weak "thank you." Most people don't like it when I sit near them, which left Ethan staring, stunned and suddenly feeling a heaviness in his chest. And when he asked her gently why she thought that, she shrugged, hugging her backpack tighter, explaining that ever since she lost her leg in an accident a year ago, people treated her like she was fragile, contagious, or simply an inconvenience, and how kids at her school laughed behind her back or refused to sit with her during lunch, making her dread every day that required her to leave the safety of her bedroom. And as she spoke, Ethan noticed Liam watching them curiously, sensing the sadness radiating from the girl, but instead of saying anything, the child simply approached and held out a dandelion he had picked, offering it with the simple, unfiltered kindness only children naturally possessed, causing the girl to smile for the first time since she sat down. And slowly the three of them began talking, about school, about favorite snacks, about superheroes and the unfairness of the world, and Ethan found himself listening more closely to this brave young stranger than he had to any adult in months, learning that her name was Ava and that she came to the park often, though she avoided the playground, because the laughter of the other kids reminded her of the life she once had, the life she was struggling to reclaim, and the single dad, whose own life had been reshaped by loss after his wife passed away 2 years earlier, felt an unexpected connection forming, as though fate had woven their lonely paths together that day. And as the afternoon sun dipped gently behind the trees, Ava's demeanor warmed, her small shoulders relaxing, as though she finally felt safe, sitting beside someone who saw her for who she was rather than what she had lost. But then she began opening up about the darkest part of her story, the accident that took her leg, the drunk driver who never apologized, the months in the hospital, the pain, the surgeries, and the moment the doctors told her she wouldn't walk normally again. Yet the worst part wasn't the physical pain but the emotional abandonment she felt, because after the accident her mother started sinking into depression and barely spoke. Her father left entirely, unable to handle the responsibility, forcing Ava to grow up faster than any child should. And as Ethan listened, he felt his fists clench and his heart ache, wishing he could somehow rewind her life and erase every hurt she had ever endured. But he stayed silent, letting her speak until she eventually asked him the question that changed everything. "Do you think people will ever stop looking at me like I'm broken?" And Ethan, realizing how much his answer mattered, turned fully toward her and said with absolute sincerity, "You're not broken, Ava, you're strong. Stronger than most grown-ups I know. And anyone who can't see that isn't someone worth sitting next to anyway." And when he said that, her tears finally spilled, not from sadness but from the overwhelming relief of hearing words she had longed for yet never received, and she covered her face, embarrassed. But Ethan gently placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, telling her it was okay to cry, that strong people cry too. And at that exact moment, Liam climbed onto the bench and hugged her tiny arm, making her cry even harder, because kindness, real kindness, was something she had forgotten how to accept. And as the sky deepened into early evening and the park lights flickered on, Ethan realized something profound. That girl hadn't just asked to sit on a bench. She had asked for a place in a world that often pretended she didn't belong, and by giving her a seat beside him, he had unknowingly opened the door to a connection that would soon change all three of their lives in ways none of them could have predicted. And for viewers watching, if this moment touched your heart, if Ava's courage inspired you and Ethan's compassion reminded you of the power of kindness, then please subscribe to the channel, because Chapter 2 will take this story to a place even deeper, more emotional and unforgettable.